Hey everybody, let's go ahead and get started. Bit of a late start tonight because I was having some tech issues, but it's all fixed up now. So let's just jump into it, not waste any time. So we'll still work on the 2D lights project today, testing out this shader to try and combine the 60 different textures into one. And we might, I actually, during the day, I found like a completely different strategy to do this light masking, so I'm not sure. Well, yeah, we'll have to see. I don't know if we'll continue with this strategy past combining 16, but I think this is a good practice with using shaders anyway, so I'm not too sad that I guess I don't feel like I've been wasting my time working on this. But anyway, so here in the light manager, so what do we need to do? Okay, so I guess we really do need 16 light textures. So I less than 16, create one for each light. Okay, and here we're gonna have to go through and set each texture. Maybe we can do this in a for loop. 0. So we'll go by each quadrant. So I less than 4. So yeah, it's green tech plus I is light textures. I times 4 plus 1. And the same here. Oops, that should be I, not 1. And then of course we have the red texture, but that's only if I does not equal 0. Because the first red texture is actually the main texture set by graphics split. Okay, and this plus 0, I'll just leave that there for clarity. Okay, so I think that will set everything. So the mask texture, okay, we actually need to change this. For now, each light texture was 128 by 128, and the mask texture, it just assumes it's the same size, but the mask texture will actually be 256 by 256. Still really small in the grand scheme of things. And what else do I need to do? Oh, I guess I need to set each of these light textures to also have the point filter mode. Okay, and the shadow camera gets set to the light texture, and then it'll render 16 times, one for each light. And then we'll combine them all in this graphics split function, which we'll call our shader. Okay, so the visualize cutout just doesn't work, which is interesting. And then a lot of these, oh, well, the lights, they're not updated to use the quadrants yet either, are they? I was hoping we could at least see the visualize cutout. Okay, yeah, so all the reds update. That's interesting, because now it seems like only the red lights work. So maybe this is the last alpha. Yeah, so this is the last render, so this must be, or the last render call, so this is what's actually displaying on screen. But obviously the light shader doesn't work. So how come this visualize cutout isn't showing anything? Maybe because the alpha channel is setting everything to white. Okay, maybe just so everything will be visible, I'll just remove the alpha for now. Okay, that didn't seem to actually do anything, did it? Oh, that's because, yeah, it got inverted, so these all need to be 0, actually, not 1. Okay, still not showing up. And now the red light doesn't even get masked. Okay, that is strange. So maybe let's set the visualize to just one of these textures and see what pops up. So instead of being the mask texture, we'll use actually light texture. Let's just do the first red one. Okay, I can't see it with the other lanterns, so I'll just turn them off. Okay, so that is working. So we know the red works. I guess we could try it for each light texture and just see what we get. Okay, so the green one is not working anymore. Which is a bit weird to me, because we didn't change anything that had to do with this rendering part. So let's just remove the blit for now. Maybe is that somehow affecting these render textures? Interesting. So it seems like the blit did something. That doesn't make any sense. Now it works. Maybe I just selected something wrong in Unity before. Let me play one more time and just make sure it's not. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't always work. What could cause that? Maybe it messes up if I press play again too quickly or something, I don't know. The mysteries of Unity is beyond me sometimes. Alright, well that seems to be working now. So let's look at, I guess might as well go down the line, at least for quadrant 1, to make sure each channel is still okay. Okay, so this is blue. Okay, so that's still fine. And now the alpha light. Yeah, that's okay. So far all the light textures seem to be working fine, but for some reason, I guess something goes wrong here in the blit part. Let's go to the last one. They all work the same, so... At least I thought they did. Or maybe I pressed play too quickly. Okay, yeah, so that is fine. So now if I Go back to the shadow mask. This doesn't, texture is empty. So that implies to me that there's some problem with this code. So let's just test each quadrant one at a time and see if the problem is my if statements or something else. So this should basically draw everything in the top left quadrant. Oh, hey Jakester Derby, good to see you again. And still nothing about coding, well hopefully you might learn something tonight. Okay, well the mask is still working, at least for the red light. But for some reason, like I can't see any of the texture, which implies to me that the alpha channel is acting weird. Let's see. If I have no alpha cutoff, so it seems like the mask is just purely the red color, which is a little weird. Like everything is only working on just the red texture. I wonder if I messed something up. Yeah, that looks, I mean I have the right texture set in here. All you've done in terms of coding is make a circle go back and forth. Well, something's better than nothing, so. Okay, and I do set the right textures. Yeah, I thought maybe I had the wrong index here and it's all being set to light texture 0, but it doesn't look like it. Not gonna learn coding, you enjoy making levels. Well, level design is a very important part of game development, so I think, yeah, work on that. It's just as important as programming. Okay. So let's just keep messing with the shader here and see if I can figure out what's going wrong. So I'm just going to set everything to the green texture. Then we should see a white rectangle corresponding to the green light's shadows, I hope. Where is it? And we see nothing. So it looks like, oh, also with this UV thing, I noticed that it wasn't drawn on the top corner, was it? So we're back to how it was at the beginning. So texture. Alright, well, I need to turn off the alpha. Here. So now the whole thing is red. So that would mean, yeah, so it's only reading some stuff from the red texture, it seems like. But now it's not even drawing anything. Where did I put the texture for the... No, not this. This is something else. I'm trying to find the shader for the visualized material. I guess I just created it myself in the game. Oh, was that the shader I was using? Okay. I should have named it better. Okay, so this will be the visualizer material. Okay, so we want unlit, transparent cutout. Basically, well, I want to have no alpha at the moment, so I can always see something. So I guess just texture is fine for now. Okay, that gets created. Yeah, this is what is missing. Alright, well now we're getting somewhere. So at least the red light is working. But so I can tell that it's 0 here for all colors, so that means that the shader is also, well, obviously it's not reading anything from the other textures because green and blue are both 0 here, and then they're also 0 on the red part since that's pure red. If I move this by here, we should start seeing some movement on the green mask. But it looks like nothing is showing up. And that implies to me that somehow these textures are not being set. It seems like I have the right variable names for everything. So it's a green text 0 is the first one. Okay, so what if I send in the light, or the green light's texture as the main texture? Let me see if it updates to that. And it does. Okay, yeah, so something is going wrong with setting these extra textures. But we did this exactly before. So let me try not to be fancy here and just not use the for loop. Oops. Okay, so this should be green texture 0 is light textures 1, and so we'll just go with that and get rid of this for now. So if I set it manually like that, does that work? Because that's how we did the other shader and everything was fine. But actually, now that I think about it, oh well, maybe it's messing up again because the red one wasn't even working. Now that I think about it, this area should be white actually. So, okay, I guess that just proves that it's not able to read the textures at all. Is it because there's too many? Seems like if that was the problem, then it... Okay, well, something's wrong with the UVs too, isn't it? when I think about it, the math here is just kind of messed up because... So what I was trying to do here is the top left corner is basically if the UV is less than 1/2 for X and Y. And then we'd expand that to fill the whole texture, or go from 0 to 1 for the mask textures. So then we could find the actual color there, but I'm actually not sure exactly what's happening in this code because, yeah, if this if statement is not satisfied, then I guess it's just wrapping around the textures, but it doesn't explain what we're seeing. Okay, so let's just return white. Let's try this. Okay, well, yeah, it's definitely not on the top. Like, it should only be here, and then everything else should be white. So obviously my math is wrong somewhere. Also, I wonder if the combiner material is set up correctly. Oh, can I not see it? Okay, well, I guess it tells me the texture right, or the shader right there, which is right. And this only has 4 textures, and it says they're all set to none. So maybe that means that there is a maximum of 4 textures at once. That won't be good for the strategy if that's true. I guess let's try that out. I don't know if there's a better way to comment in shader code, so I'm just gonna do every line. It seems to be the same. I don't know why it's not reading these other textures. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm pretty sure. Maybe the UV is not. No, the UV is in 0 to 1 space, isn't it? Because before we had to divide that screen size texture by the actual screen dimensions to convert world position into UV space. And then our old combo texture, which was just 4 to 1. Oh, wait. Okay, I'm gonna feel really stupid. Yeah, this still says 4 to 1. It's not using the combined 16. Okay. I even looked at that and said that was right. Okay, so now we're actually using the right shader. Okay, so yeah, this is actually quadrant 1 on the bottom left. But that's fine. Okay, but it's not drawing it anyway. It's interesting though. I'm not sure why this part is yellow. Okay. So now let's set these textures back. Oh gosh, no. I've got to uncomment this. I wish I had my uncomment button up here, but it doesn't work in shader files. Gotten really spoiled using that in C#. Okay, well let's leave this. That way I can test out this UV code. I think, so now I'm pretty sure that we'll have a black square here and white in the other quadrants. Oh no, the mask is actually working. So yeah, we can see cyan where the red's getting masked out. Obviously, the light mask is not working correctly, or this graphic isn't getting masked out correctly because it's still not knowing to actually look at just one quadrant, but we'll fix that later. Okay, and now we can see green is also working because that's where that magenta is coming from, and then the blue. And finally alpha, except alpha is not showing because this texture is set to have no alpha cutout. So I guess I should turn that back on. So now when I move this close, yeah, we'll start cutting out parts of the sprite. Okay, perfect. Ooh, that looks pretty cool. Gangster Derby. So he designed for this level for a Mario hack. I'm guessing these little bridges. Oh no, just a pretty simple stage to start with. But yeah, I like the art design. Alright, so this code is working. So let's go ahead and bring in the other quadrants and see if I messed up any code here. Sometime I've got to think about how to fix this and not use if statements, but I'm not going to worry about that just yet. Okay, so let's, so I can actually see. And then I could disable all of them actually. And then red 1. Okay, so this is quadrant 2. Okay, 3 is up there. Okay, so far, so good. Okay, so let's try the blue channels. Okay, so yeah, all the different quadrants work in that code. Okay, I need to change this to unlet cutout. Okay, the art is just edited. I think it looks nice. Alright, so now I guess the next step is to change, or I'm gonna leave this shader but update it. So we have to select channel mask, so now we'll want to have select channel and quadrant. Another unlit shader, select quadrant, mask. Okay, gotta reload. And I can just copy this over. We'll just be adding some stuff to it. Okay, so again, we're going to have to pass more data into the shader. And I think we can do that using the UV2. So that should be text chord 1 actually. You have a friend that makes tiles. That's fun to do sometimes, but it's a lot of work, so I don't blame you if you want to get something up quicker. Okay, but we'll just pass this in without editing it. So what do we do here? I guess. So we still just sample the main texture at the normal UV, but then we want to sample the mask at the quadrant, but also, so basically we need to divide this UV by 2, so we get somewhere in the range of 0 to 1/2 for X and Y. I guess how we'll do it is we'll just add the UV2 to it. That should be fine. So that means on our lantern creator, or what is it, light mesh creator, depending on what quadrant we're on, will also affect the UV2s. Okay, so select quadrant. Yeah, let's just go ahead and pass the quadrant. Okay, and again, the UVs, there's one UV for each vertice, and there's 4 vertices in this square. And the quadrant will actually be the same for each. So now in the lantern, the lantern object itself, we'll do something like this. Set quadrant select, and we already have this quadrant index. I guess, that will still work. It'll be something like, so quadrant 0 and 1 are on the bottom, but that's Y. So quadrants 0 and 2 are on the left side, so it'd be if quadrant I is even, which this is one way to look up if something is even. Basically that's asking if the remainder when you divide by 2 is 0. Then it will be 0, otherwise it will be 1/2. And then again, quadrants 0 and 1 are on the bottom, so you can just say if quadrant is less than 2, it will turn 0, otherwise not negative 1/2. And I think we're set there. So I've got to change. Excuse me. Got to change the materials for the light mask to select quadrant, but everything else is the same. And hopefully everything will just work. It does not look like it's just working. Oh, I probably started too soon because the test texture is all white. I don't really know why. It seems to have that weird bug. So now... Okay, yeah, it's being a bit weird. So, yeah, we can see this cyan blob. Oh, the test... Oh no, it's still fine, okay. It just looks a little squished. So yeah, this cyan blob right here is the mask, but we can see on this light it's not actually masking out the right position. It's like some weird area down here. Okay, so something is wrong with this code. Either that or the UV2 is not working right. Okay, this part we already worked. We already know works. That's the channel select, so I don't need to worry about that. Okay, so let's just remove that UV2 and make sure everything is still fine if it's basically a copy of the previous shader. Oh wait, again I started it too soon. It's a weird bug.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to an issue with their operation, Team Gato is
okay.
unfortunately unable.
Maybe it's something else going on.
Instead,
Okay, so now it's working. I had to restart it a few times.
musical stylings of the Scuba Diver.
Okay, so now we can see it's masking it right. But because... let's get rid of everything except the red lantern. That the mask, like all four quadrants, are basically being applied to the quadrants of the sprite, which is not what we want. Yeah, because we actually want this one quadrant to be mapped to the entire body of the light, which is what I was trying to do with the UV2, but it seemed like maybe I offset it the wrong way. It shouldn't be negative though, should it? Let me try this one more time. Oh, again, I have to wait a bit. Again, let's get rid of everything so I can actually see what's going on. Okay, so yeah, still it's being affected by sprites that it shouldn't be. So do I have to subtract? That seems wrong to me. Because I thought that this UV would be, this UV2 is kind of like the bottom left. Okay, something is still not right. Oh, well, this actually works, doesn't it? Okay, so why did it want to be subtracted? Let's look at the green lantern. Does this work? Okay, well, I guess everything on the same quadrant should work the same, because we already know that channels work. So let's try red on the second quadrant. Okay, it does not work at all. So it must be something's wrong with the way I'm offsetting everything. Actually, this could be working different than I expect. Should I wonder if I should call transform text for the mask for the UV2. Oh, I'm passing in the wrong variable here. That's probably the problem. Oh gosh, that's, again, silly of me. Have to wait a bit. Still not ready. Okay, so now it's flashing back and forth. That can't be a good sign. Okay, so yeah, this is just not responding at all to the mask. Okay, so let's just try this transform texture. I'm not exactly sure what it does. And this will actually be the mask texture. Oh, okay. I guess, was that all I had to do? I need to go look and see exactly what that function does now. Because I thought you only needed it to transform from local to world space, but I guess you'd still need to do that for the mask. I don't know. Okay, so one problem I can see in the... I don't know if you guys can see this on YouTube, but there's a little small white line. And I kind of was hoping this wouldn't be a problem. But it's just because on the border here, it's like this other side is, excuse me, is kind of leaking into the left quadrant. That might be a bit of a pain to fix. I think one way I can do it is basically make the mask slightly larger than the actual sprite. Although everything has to be a power of 2. I don't know, we'll see. Let's try quadrant 2. Alright, and it does work. Again, we're having those white lines at the edges. I wonder if I can maybe fix this in this shader code by having it... Gosh, sorry, my voice is breaking out. Yeah, I guess my allergies are just acting up. But yeah, as I was saying, maybe instead of trying to pad these edges with more, like, just more mask in the corners, which will kind of complicate things because the textures have to be a power of 2, so we'd have to make this texture a whole lot bigger just for like a 2 pixel border on every side. So what I'd like to do is maybe we can make it in the actual shader code itself that it just won't stray to this pixel at the very edge. I'll have to look into that. But yeah, everything seems to be working okay now. So let's look at the performance. Okay, so yeah, we can see the render code is really starting to get up there. Now it's almost about half the frame, and before it was maybe a quarter. Okay, yeah, this camera render is for the actual screen, so just the sprites and everything. this is just idle time. Okay, so this is the Light Mask Manager update. So the camera render is what takes by far the most time. And it's drawing and culling sprites. Or drawing and culling vertices, so we could maybe fix that if we had, like right here we can see that the polygons for the shadows extend way beyond where they actually need to. And I think since this is all one big triangle, Unity can't like it has to process the whole triangle and check each pixel if it's inside the viewing area. So that might be why the drawing is kind of large. I don't really know why culling takes so much time, because there's not that many polygons. Because I think that's like on a per polygon basis to see if the entire polygon is inside the viewing area or not. But I could be wrong about that. Yeah, those. And see, this render is called 16 times, one for each light. So if we can bring down these two sections, that's how we'd optimize this a whole lot. Surprisingly, the graphics blit, which is what we use to combine all the textures into one, barely takes any time at all, so that's good to know, because that means if we had to, we could call graphics blit more often to try and speed things up. But I don't really know if there's any way we could do that to take load off the camera render. Yeah, there's gotta be something, because let's see. So this camera render, that's about 40 divided by 16. What is that? Brain's too tired to do the math in my head. So 2.5%. And then the camera render itself is only slightly more. Alright, so I was gonna say, is rendering the screen is much faster than rendering each shadow, but no, they're about the same. Even though we have much more complicated shaders in the actual viewable screen. So that is a bit surprising to me. And culling is so much quicker as well. Well, maybe not, I don't know. I can cull once and it's 0.5. Here it's called 16. Okay, so actually it's about the same. So I don't know, maybe there's not really a way to speed this up too much. Which is a bit of a shame, because the game I'm trying to copy, or that I took inspiration from, they said that they had like over 100 lights in the scene at once, and it didn't really affect performance. So unless it's just not possible in Unity. Okay, well, let's see. So we pretty much got this work. So we could try to blit together more masks, but now I'm starting to think there's no point, because it's just going to take, like, it's going to slow the game down too much. Yeah, Jinxer Derby. Well, I'm not really, copy was the wrong word for it, which is why I took my words back. I'm just trying to re-implement their algorithm. I'm not going to use any of their art or anything. And I'm not even going to make a game out of it, I just want to do it as a learning experience. Alright, so I'm trying to decide if I want to keep on going down this path or try a different idea I read about using the stencil buffer in Unity. Well, I guess we can try the stencil buffer thing. I'm not sure how much code I need to change. Oh really, all this would work. Well actually no, we wouldn't even have like a light mask texture. So let me basically how the stencil buffer works is in a shader you specify if any pixel that is covered by a polygon should be written to what's called a buffer, but it's basically just a texture kept on the graphics card. And so let's say if you had, I guess I can just write it here. Yeah, that's how I'm looking at it, Derby. But now at least I have the knowledge to do this kind of lighting if I need it. So yeah, the stencil, it's really easy to, you just put it in any shader. And basically this means that the graphics card will write 2 into the stencil buffer anytime this fragment function is called, which is once, well, on every pixel that the mesh covers. And then later on, let me get the other side of it. So this is what writes the stencil buffer, and then there's this other one where you have a compare function. And this basically checks to see if the stencil buffer equals 2 during this fragment, or on that pixel in other words. Then we would actually call the fragment function, otherwise we'll just skip that pixel. So it's basically just another way to do masks as we've been doing. And I think you can have as many as 256 stencil values, so basically we would just set a stencil value for each light, and then on the shadow render pass, instead of rendering to a texture, we would actually just set the stencil buffer, and then these light masks, or the light shaders, would just read from that. And that way we don't have to do all this messing with the textures. So it might be a lot faster because I don't know, because we won't actually be writing to any texture with the cameras. We would just be writing to the stencil buffer, so hopefully that'll be a lot quicker. Anyway, let's get rid of that. I guess I'll start working on it. And if we find out it's not really that much faster, then maybe we can continue with this texture method. Okay, so this will be right to stencil. No, unfortunately, the only way to configure what stencil ID you write to, you have to use a property, so basically it has to be one draw call every time you want to change that value. But as far as I know, there's no way to get around that. Let's see here. So yeah, I can actually just copy this, start us off. So how you do this, if you want to use a variable value, you surround it in brackets. So let's see, stencil ref, and then you put it up here so that Unity will know that this is available to set in the texture. Oh gosh, excuse me. And this will be an integer. I think that's the syntax for that. Yeah, it looks okay. Okay, so I don't want to write red. It really doesn't matter what we return here, because it's not going to be rendered to anything. Okay. So I don't need to change anything in the shadow cutout except switch around the shader. Yes, let's change this to 2D lights. Okay, and there's the integer. So how I want to preserve this code in case we need to switch back, but I'm gonna have to change a lot of it. Well, I guess I can just comment everything out and it'll be preserved. So we won't need any of this because we're not going to be working with these textures anymore. I might need to have one like dummy texture to set to the camera, because I'm not sure if I just call the camera render without a target texture if it will write to the screen, even if the camera is disabled. Oh no, we'll have to look and see about that. So basically, but we will still need a material. I did an indent right there. Okay, so this will be stencil mat, I guess I'll call it. So I want to pass it shader, find 2D lights, right to stencil. And what else do we need to do? I guess we don't have to set that. Okay, so now I need to set... Okay, so the shadow creator, is that... Yeah, because I need to put that mesh onto the shadows, actually. So where does this get its texture from? Or not texture, material. Oh, right here. Okay, well that makes things a little easier. Well, no, we don't need to do that here. So stencil mat. I actually need to create it up here because I need to set it to the shadow material and data. Actually, I don't even need. Yeah, that's fine. I don't need this texture. And I don't need this part or blit. So all I need to do here is set the stencil material, set integer. What do I call it? Stencil ref value. Okay, no, it's just stencil ref. Okay, I think for now I'll just use I+1. I'm not sure if 0 is the default value or something. And then here, so yeah, we don't even need this function because there's no channel select or quadrant select. Where does it set? Okay, here it sets the material. I guess we can actually do that sooner. So public void. Why does it keep indenting me? Set stencil ref. Material set integer. Okay, we haven't even written this shader yet, but oops. And then here in the lantern, all I have to do is comment this out. Yeah, I guess all the stuff about quadrants and colors is not going to be needed anymore, but that's fine. Alright, so now we need to write the shader to actually pull from the stencil buffer. What's this? Oh, the visualizer. Yeah, we don't need this code because there's no texture to visualize. So yeah, another unlit shader. And this will be I guess a mask from stencil. And I guess I'll copy this. Okay, and all I have to do here is change this to, I forget the exact keywords. So comp equal, pass keep. So this tests if it's equal to the value set in stencil ref, then we'll actually run the fragment function for that pixel. So the light mask material, I just gotta change this. And that's it. Okay, well, it's too much asked for it to work the first time. And also I forgot to, we do need to sample from the texture. One problem with this, actually, I just realized. I think this is still fine to get to know the stencil ref, but Again, since we have to set the mask here in the material properties, that means there's going to be one draw call for every light, which I think means that there should be like, yeah, 35 draw calls. That's not good. So yeah, I might have to go back to the texture way, and I'll just need to, there's got to be ways to improve the performance. But yeah, that's fine. I still would like to learn this method anyway. Okay, so we still need the main texture. Actually, now that I think about it, let me just copy this and then I'll paste the stencil stuff. Okay, so yeah, we don't need this. Oops. We need the stencil reference. Let's just put it here. I can actually turn off Z right in this. Quite a bit simpler because we don't need these values to get the channel select or quadrant select or this mask sampler. So pretty much we just return whatever we get from the texture if this fragment function runs. Although yeah, I need to put in the right keywords. What does this Z fail mean? What to do with the contents of the buffer if the stencil test passes but the depth test? Okay, well that's, yeah, we're not gonna have a depth buffer for sprites, so that's not an issue. Okay, so yeah, it's still not working. Is it set up right? So it's mask from stencil. Oh, the stencil ref value is 0 though. That's not right. So if I set this to 1, will it magically start working? No, it's a shame. I wonder why it didn't get set. Well, actually, I think I know why. In the lantern, I didn't call that new function, did I? Close all these. At least now is the value set correctly. Oh, it's still not. Actually, I think I know what I did wrong. Because the material should be shared material. Also, I don't need that anymore. Maybe I should make sure I spelled it right. Alright, Jinkster Gerby. I'm about done anyway. I end around 10, so thanks for coming by and chatting, I really appreciate it, and good luck with your level design. Oh, it crashed your browser. Yes, the new site is a little buggy for me, but hopefully they'll iron things out. Alright, still something a little messed up. Oh, I should have checked to see if the value was correct. Okay, so why is that 15 though? Oh, well, I did do shared mesh, but that wasn't a problem before. Well, it's not working anyway, but... or shared material, I should say. Okay, so let's just create a new material here, I guess. This is the biggest drawback to this. Oh, if I do that, I won't have the texture set up. But yeah, having an individual material for each of these lights is by far the biggest drawback of this method, but I don't think there's any way to get around it. Gosh, I'm sorry about my voice tonight. Let's see. So when I change it back to shared mesh... Okay, well that's just not setting it correctly. And as far as I know, there's no way I can visualize the stencil buffer. So I can't like see if the values are being written right. Okay, so it's just resetting it to 0. So that means that something is setting it weirdly, setting that value. Well, if I call debug here, it should still count up to 15. But might as well test. Yeah, so for some reason it's always resetting this value to 0 even though... Oh, well there it's 14. Oh, it should be... Okay. It's getting late. Sorry about this, but yeah. Another silly mistake. It's supposed to be index +1. Specifically... I did that earlier. Or... mentioned that earlier. Okay, but it's still not working anyway. So this is 1 and this should be... I don't know. And 9. Alright, well, we'll have to do a little bit more investigation about this. And we'll look into using more of the depth buffer tomorrow, but as I realized working on it, I don't think it's going to be good for this project because, as I said, each light now has its own draw call, which we had to do a bunch of stuff to get that down earlier, like using the vertex colors and the second UVs, and there's no way that we can similarly pass the stencil ref value in that way because it has to actually be set in the material properties, because it's not actually part of the vertex or fragment function, it's kind of outside. Which is a bit, well, not a bit of a shame, it's a big shame, because I think this method would be quite a lot faster, but I mean if we didn't have to have a different draw call for each. Well, but I wonder if rendering to textures is so much slower that this will turn out to be faster. I guess I should look at the profiler and see. Oh no, it looks like it's about the same. Whoa. What was that spike about? So in this, yeah, it's still a camera render that takes a long time, and it's just the drawing and culling just like before. So now we have this camera image effects. I wonder, graphic split, what's it? That must not be something I'm doing. Maybe behind the scenes Unity has to do that to get the stencil reference to work. I wonder also, does the shadow camera, yeah, it has no render texture, but it's still not rendering to the screen. Yeah, so if I turn it on, it's just gonna render black. Actually, shouldn't it? Yeah, it should render 1. Maybe the problem is somewhere here. I don't know, I copied this directly from Unity, so. But anyway, that's all for tonight. So yeah, thanks again everybody for coming by and watch it. I do appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow around 8:30 Eastern, and yeah, we'll continue on this project, trying to fix up these lights. Probably a couple more days, and then I'll head back into the big Pokemon game, or Pokemon-like game. And I think we'll do some character creation, maybe modeling. I know I've talked about that for a while, but we'll see. Oh yeah, and so if you missed any of this stream or previous and you want to catch up, I will upload all this to my YouTube channel. You can get there from !YouTube in chat or checking my channel description. And also, if you'd like to chat with me or other viewers outside of streams, feel free to join my Discord channel, which you can get to from !Discord in chat, or my channel or video description. And yeah, that's about it. Again, thanks everybody for coming by and watching, and have a great night. Alright, bye bye.